Okay, I'm going to try and keep this one short because when I talk about things that I really like, I tend to talk for a long time, and then you get videos that are 16 minutes of me looking through my CDs, and there we go. Ooh. Okay, so I did 5 favourite movies before, and I will link to that in the description. I'm going to do 5 more favourite movies because there are a lot of really good films. And I'm just going to jump right in with my first one, Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Okay, so I love sci-fi. This is a sci-fi. I love sci-fi that tells a small story on a very grand scale, as I've said before. That's this. Moreover, this is a film where the story happens in the background more than it does in the foreground. This film is so detailed and populates such a believable landscape in the little things in the backgrounds. Graffiti scrawled on walls, extras doing particular things, exchanges that don't seem important to the main plot, but are. It all goes together to paint this harrowing, bleak, near-future scenario that also happens to be pretty damn unique in the world of sci-fi novels and then films. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's set in London in the near future during an apocalyptic crisis where all human women suddenly became infertile, which means that the population of the human race is slowly shrinking as people die and no new people are born. So right away you're given this fantastic opportunity to explore what happens to human culture when they know the end is coming, but also on a more moral and sensitive level, what happens in a world, in fact one of the characters says this, what happens in a world where there are no children. Plus incredible cinematography and design, it looks great, it feels great. It was one of the first films to experiment with very long and digitally stitched together takes, giving you a very unrelenting sense of tension in particular scenes throughout the film. It ticks so many boxes for me. I love it. Second is a more recent film. It's called Gatsby, directed by Baz Luhrmann. Now, Baz Luhrmann has a weird track record for me. I kind of don't like a lot of the over-the-top, self-indulgent, colourful, flamboyant stuff that he directs. But with Gatsby, it works. I've watched a lot of his films and come to appreciate his approach, even if it is often not my taste. But Gatsby, I have watched several times in the last year, and I love it even more each time I watch it. I love the book, and I feel like this film loves the book. And it does a really admirable job of translating the wealth and the gluttony and all of the things that the original novel is commenting on for a modern audience. Baz Luhrmann's signature use of anachronistic music is there with Jay-Z and various other pop acts from them nowadays. It's very composite heavy, which again is a red flag for me usually, but it's done in quite a tasteful way. I can't help but admire the incredible vistas and collages that he builds. And what's more important is that although a lot of it is digitally stitched together, still a lot of attention and detail and budget has gone on real sets, real costume, real gorgeous mansions and landscapes, so that enough of what you're seeing is real and tangible as to offset anything that you might feel is a bit fake. To watch it is to experience peaks and troughs of fun and freedom and love and pain and sadness, and that is what it should be. Number 3 is widely acclaimed as a classic, and I agree. It's called When Harry Met Sally, and it was directed by Rob Reiner. This is a conversational film. It is not an action film. It is not a stunts film. It is about 2 characters. It is about 2 performances that I think are fantastic. It sets the gold standard for romance and romantic comedy. And it does it by approaching romance as not one isolated incident, but as part of someone's life, as part of the lives of the 2 protagonists. Of course, films are still going to be reductive. You can't fit 2 lives into a 100-minute film, but its approach to relationships is respectably honest while still being somewhat Hollywood cinematic. I can spin it out and make it as academic as I feel like, but at the end of the day, you should root a lot of how you judge a film in how it makes you feel, how you respond to it. And every single time I watch When Harry Met Sally, I love it. Next on my list is a film called Crash, not the early noughties Oscar bait one about people hating each other, but the 90s saucy one about people who have a sexual relationship with car crashes. This was directed by David Cronenberg, who is a fantastic director, apart from that one film. you know the one. And it also loosely falls into the category of fetish cinema, which is something that I might even do a whole video about, because I love fetish cinema, I love LGBT cinema. I find it fascinating in the way that it represents sexuality that is different to me, the viewer. It also stars James Spader, who I love and is fantastic at playing manipulative, twisted, broken characters. What gets me about a film like Crash is how much it can make you, the viewer, care about these characters who are so alien to you, and become invested in something that in any other circumstance might repulse you. And this is to do with something that you might encounter if you study English literature or poetry, the idea that energy and motivation can be separate from morality. So when I watch Crash and I enjoy these characters and I root for these characters, I am not implicitly approving of their behavior, but I am empathizing with their energy, their motivation, that drive to get what they want is something that I can understand, even if the thing they want is objectionable to me. And if a film can do that right, then it deserves to be a favourite film. The last on my list for today is a film called The Social Network, directed by David Fincher. So this got a lot of flack when it was being marketed and when it was first released, because people cynically thought, a Facebook movie? No, it's based on a book that chronicles the escalation of conflict between all of the founding parties of Facebook and the subsequent lawsuits and court cases and fallout of that situation. Facebook serves to root it in the modern day and maybe act as some kind of metaphor occasionally. But this is a film about human relationships. This is a film about friendship and drive and greed and betrayal, and it's very good at it. It's also absolutely gorgeous. It is a film that looks modern. It's a film that could only really have been made in the last 5 or 10 years. It's digitally sharp, the use of light is incredible, and the framing and composition of all of the shots is relatively classic. And by that I mean simple and elegant. Nothing out of place, nothing off kilter, just a very crisp, traditional and true representation. And when it came out, I would argue that there were only a handful of films or TV shows that look this way, but there is a growing trend of this approach to cinematography, which is truly of this time. I made a PBFB about this way back, and actually one of my little obsessions is the idea of thinking about what will stand the test of time in culture. What will be the things that are remembered? In any given year, thousands of films come out, but maybe only one of them is remembered 50 or 100 years down the line. Time may prove me wrong, but I would argue that The Social Network is going to be one of those films. Thank you for listening to my recommendations. I'm going to be making more of these videos this year. If you have particular categories of things that you would like me to identify 5 of my favorites of, let me know in the comments below. I really want to watch all these films now, but I can't. I've got other things to do.